Welcome to Fortnite Origins, where I'll be covering certain topics such as characters, factions, and realities. And one of the most notable factions I'll be covering are those from the Imagined Order, the Last Reality, and the Seven. When it comes to Fortnite Origins, I present obvious evidence to cover most of my claims, as well as something that is from the past, present, and future, and also from major chapters such as Chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and currently Chapter 7. So sit back, relax, and to all my loopers out here, let's learn some lore. In the beginning, there was nothing. Then, in a burst of pure creation, the 0 Point sprang into being. Yes, these are the words of the Foundation explaining to Batman about the creation of the omniverse from nothing. Yes, the nothing.
There will be no second chances here. The nothing is...
Did she say nothing? Or the nothing, capital T, capital N.
But what is the nothing? Well, I have no idea, which in that case, none of us on Earth know either. And nothing appears to my mind because it is empty while making this video. And in both the real world and Fortnite in general, nothing is inevitable. But this being is self-aware all of a sudden, it is a distant voice, and a sentient group of absolute nothingness. Even through the passage of time, until the very end, it's always nothing. But in Fortnite lore, the nothing was responsible for the creation of the army of the last reality after the 0 Point sprang to being, and spread everything to fill in the nothing. It has huge ties to the storm, all of the cubes, and one of the most dangerous weapons of mass destruction, or bioweapons of all Fortnite, the Chrome. It also appears to recruit a bunch of humans and other beings from different realities, and destroy their realities to place fear onto them, such as the Pluxarians, which Bloom and the Herald of the Nothing belongs to. The Chimeras are also given special abilities and cube-like powers thanks to the Nothing, especially these Chimeras, the General that is unreleased, and most of all, the Cube King, who looks like a Chimera but it's unclear. The species which Dark Voyager belongs to are somewhat tied to the Nothing and the Last Reality in some ways, such as Dark Voyager himself, who was binded to the Chaos Cubes, and his master, who was assumed to be a Chaos Cube themselves, that could also be linked to the Nothing. The Nothing is a very good manipulator, deceiver, and can hide anywhere, anytime, and no one can kill the Nothing, since it's impenetrable. And do you know what's also connected to the Nothing? Black holes. Yes, these ones. Which is its manifestation after the 0 Point's destruction in Season X, indicating that the Nothing thinks it won, but it turns out Geno and the Ion had won the most since they have control, and despite the Nothing's plans to expand back to its original state, it failed. A lot. To the point that it has Dark Voyager to, instead of destroying everything, they need to eternally suffer and enslave everything, including all the inhabitants of the Omniverse. But why is all this the case? Well, there are a ton more questions than answers about the Nothing. Who are they? What is their purpose? And what do they plan to do with the 0 Point, especially as of Chapter 7? As Dark Voyager is ordered to build the 0 Point by his master, which is linked to the Nothing. Well, this is where I'm going to be explaining this right now, guys, because the Nothing is extremely mysterious. And it's also been hiding in the shadows too, which no one can see it, no one can destroy it, and most of all, no one can even communicate it, because in general, the Nothing doesn't have a voice, except if it wants to have a voice, it would have to be communicating through the Chrome, which is a living metal. And the Nothing wants to do this because it wants to oppose fear to everybody. No matter if they are with the Nothing, no matter if they're against the Nothing, it wants to oppose fear. And it has been doing this since the 0 Point has been a thing. When it appeared during the Big Bang and the Omniverse was created, the Nothing got very distraught because the 0 Point and everything exists, so it wants existence to be gone as a whole. So it created the Last Reality. And as the leader of it, it has multiple commanders, which are the following. The Cube King, now known as the Origin, probably been taken back to the Last Reality since he was chromed. The Herald of the Nothing, which is a Pluxarian species, or flower-like woman as I call it, or I should call it by the community before Chapter 3 Season 4, the Bloom Watcher. the Cube Queen, the current monarch of the last realities, Cube Legion, or should I say Queen of the Cubes, and most of all, and mysteriously, Dark Voyager's master, who appears to be extremely unknown at this point since it is set to reveal either in Act 3 or Act 4 of Fortnite Showdown. And their goal is to destroy as many realities as it can until it reaches Reality Zero, and once they reach Reality Zero, they would be able to take the 0 point, they would destroy it, and cause a massive effect which would bring back the Nothing. And they done this since Season X. Because of the Seven's miscalculations on trying to take back the bridge from the Imagined Order, the miscalculations was clear to the point that the 0 point imploded after it exploded, and it sucked everything through, including the whole Reality Zero, including the whole omniverse, and turned everything back to nothing, in which the Nothing thought it won. And as a result, all we have in our screens is a black hole, which the entire Fortnite community was extremely upset because they would have to wait 2 days to see that this black hole will go away. But because of this whole wait and impatience, the entire community thought Fortnite died. If you take a look at the Twitter X profile of the Fortnite official account, you could see what is going on over here. And that indicated that Fortnite is dead forever and there will be no more Fortnite, meaning everybody is just crying and all. They're destroying their TVs, their PlayStations, and PCs because of this whole stuff, because of this whole situation, and they thought they had wasted a lot of their money on their mom's credit card because of this whole situation. And because they had the battle passes, they lost that, and because they had the skins, they lost that, and because they had the V-Bucks, they also lost that, but it didn't last long. Because of Geno recalculating all the miscalculations the Seven made, they were finally able to retake control of the 0 point. Geno was able to reform the whole Reality Zero into Apollo and armies, and guess what? The Nothing lost. But here's the thing, guys. Before all that happened, if you take a look around the black hole through the 2 days of the blackout, you can see all of these numbers. And if you guys listen to those visitor tapes, or should I say the scientist tapes, because these are like voices of the scientists, I can't remember. I had to like decode these numbers to the letters of each sentence on what the visitor is trying to say to all of us about the loop, the Nothing, the end of the Fortnite Island, and the rocket event. And if you mix all of these together with the numbers, you will get this message. I was not alone. Others are outside the loop. This was not calculated. The Nothing is now inevitable. Which means, in context, the Nothing has happened. The Nothing has appeared. The Nothing has taken over the entire omniverse, and it's set to rule before that disappeared again with the recalculations of the entire omniverse and Reality Zero. So yeah, at this point, the Nothing failed in Season X, and it formed the Chapter 2 and Chapter 3 island. But the Nothing is set to get revenge again, as it's going to do something very sneaky. Well, the Nothing has connected to the cubes, which in terms, Kevin the Cube, that sunk into Loot Lake and it got destroyed and it failed to take the 0 point. This other Kevin the Cube, which turned into Steamy Stack, which broke out alongside of the other cubes from the mothership, which was sent by Glyphmaster Raz's fire splinter 0 point like stone thing, which he was able to be corrupted by the cube energy, and it brought the mothership. Dr. Sloan ordered the destruction of the mothership, Operation Skyfire, it fell, the cubes fell, and they come all together along with the Chaos Cube, or the Golden Cube, alongside with the Steamy Stacks Cube, which is also the same exact cube as the one we saw in Season X, and it formed the Convergence, then the Pyramid. The Cube Queen attempted to open a rift to the last reality in hopes of destroying this whole Reality Zero, but oh no, the Foundation and the Scientist and the Visitor came back. The Foundation freed Jones. They were able to raid the entire bridge in order to cause the flip side of the entire island to switch from the Apollo side to the Artemis side, and once they did that, the Cube Queen drowned, and she disappeared into thin air after she got in contact with H2O, and the last reality disappeared, which is the second time the Nothing failed. And after that second failure of the Nothing, after the Cube Queen tried to bring back the Nothing under secret messages as you take a look at her song and the teasers, she says, and I quote, "So go on and gather what's left of your army, ready your defenses, and now that when we are done, only Nothing will remain." And it also mentions in her song too, and I quote, "There's nothing in this world to say, don't try it, Io. Your fight with Seven is in vain. All these worlds bow to my reign." Which the Cube Queen messaged significantly that the nothing is near. Since her arrival along with the motherships and the cube's cradle, it makes it all clear. And if you take a look also in this loading screen before all this, you can see the entire cube's cradle, which is the quarters of the cube monarchs, especially the Cube Queen, and all of these motherships surrounded it. You can see the ice moon around it. This also indicates that the nothing has planned to destroy Reality Zero, and this loading screen shows it very clear. This represents the destruction of Reality Zero that they attempted to do. They take over the 0 point, and the cube's cradle indicates that it has taken over the 0 point, and they make their final plans of bringing back the nothing, which they failed significantly. And you know what also they attempted to bring success and also failed significantly? When they brought the Herald to destroy Reality Zero. This also takes place many seasons after Chapter 2 Season 8, which is around Chapter 3 Season 3, which the Nothing's plans makes it very clear. It has sent its messenger, the Herald of the Nothing, also known as the Bloom Watcher according to the community, to bring his dreams come true. And the Herald starts by sending a sample of Chrome, which once again, Chrome is connected to the Nothing. A living metal, a cell organism, that does cytokinesis within less than 2 to 3 nanoseconds at most, which is pretty fast. And what it can do is that the Chrome would reshape you, defy by its existence, by making you into a different person, and makes your mental capacity so unstable that you become so evil that you lost sense of reality. And this is what the Chrome did. It attempted to take the Foundation, but the Foundation ended up escaping. It ended up trying to take the Snapshot, Imagine, but it's unclear what happened to her. Probably taken by the Chrome. Since the real Imagine is fully deceased, but the Snapshot Imagine is somehow immortal. Really epic games. And then the Order was almost taken by the Chrome too, and she also ended up escaping. And the only 7 members that were all taken by the Chrome within Chapter 3 Season 4 is the Scientist, the Visitor, Reality Zero, and the Origin, formerly the Cube King, and they were brought into the last reality after that. And the Paradigm ended up surviving and ended up escaping to Reality 659 to get help from her family, the Reality Warriors, about the Chrome situation. And while that was happening, the Herald of the Nothing appears, and it indicates very clear. She is warning and telling all of us that the Nothing is near, just like how the Cube Queen tried to message us about the Nothing, the Herald too. And she wants to take revenge after what happened to the Cube Queen back in Chapter 2 Season 8, since the Cube Queen failed to do her job since she got drowned by H2O by the Foundation and Jones. And since they took responsibility, the Herald sees this as terrorism and starts to chrome the entire Chapter 3 island, while the Chapter 2 island was already been corrupted by cubes in the first place. And this also comes after the Imagined Order's disbandment, thanks to the war against the Seven and the Imagined Order, and this was all calculated by the Last Reality's move to take action. And the Foundation warns us about the Last Reality's dangers, way before they declare war against the Imagined Order. And as a result of the Foundation's warnings to the Seven and the Loopers about the upcoming Chrome incident, they failed to listen to him. Just like what happened with Dr. Vinderman when he tried to warn all of his other scientists about the storms coming, since the storm is also connected to the Nothing. None of them do not believe in Dr. Vinderman, and they believe that Dr. Vinderman is very crazy and very psychopathic and he should go to a mental hospital. But Dr. Vinderman was right this whole time. And as a result, it was already too late, as the storm came because of the cubes where the motherships crashed many years earlier, start activating, releasing the storm and the Storm Kings, and 98% of the world's population turned into zombies. And Dr. Vinderman died along the way by the storm, and a similar situation as to what happened in Chapter 3, where the Foundation tried to warn everybody, but they failed to even listen to him. Only the Paradigm knows this, since she was the first person to even know this already before the scientists did, and it was already too late. The Foundation was almost chromed, he escaped, and everyone else is gone. And even the 0 point with its sentience also tried to warn everybody about the situation. But everybody also failed to listen to the 0 point since they forgot about it since it's underwater, so the 0 point just went dormant. And as a result, the Nothing's plans are actually working. And with the Sanctuary now fully abandoned, the Herald set up her kingdom known as Herald's Sanctum, where she begins to make her brand new plans on destroying the entire island or I lands, and take over the 0 point from here. And after Jones tries to tell the looper about the situation, asks the loopers to reactivate Amy to decode the messages through the roots of the reality tree, which is connected to the 0 point, but in reality it is actually a trap created by the Nothing. It decodes the messages of the paradigm, warning everybody about the Nothing's coming.
You're there. You can hear me. I have to keep these transmissions short, but I'll send everything I know. Stay safe. And listen, there will be no second chances here. The Nothing is...
Did she say nothing? Or V, nothing, capital T, capital N.
Oh, don't pretend you don't know.
If there's a way through this, we'll need to know everything about this. Starting with the Chrome. We ran some experiments, but you'll probably need more data.
And even if so, her messages were completely corrupted to the point that the Nothing wanted to silence the paradigm from bringing the message to all the loopers, because the Nothing loves to play tricks. And as a result, Jones and the loopers attempted to attack the Herald, but ended up failing miserably, as the Herald uses the power of Chrome, which is connected to the Nothing, to revive herself anytime at will. And through the Chrome TV, Bites, which is this character right over there, ends up getting contact in the TV and actually hears the voice of the Nothing. And this is the very first time we've heard the Nothing's voice.
We see you're finally prepared to face your fate. But first, you must prove yourself.
And it turns out it's actually like a male voice, despite that the Nothing has no specific gender, since it's literally nothing. Like, it has no gender. Anywho, Bites contacts with the Nothing, and the Nothing wanted to have Bites prove to him about his strengths by doing all these trials. And despite that Bites was very terrified at first, his hunger, his anger, and his hollow starts to consume him to the point that Chrome starts appearing around him to the point where he started getting powers of the Nothing. The Chrome itself, the living cell organism, just like how the Herald controls, through anger and hollow and hunger for more realities to destroy. And every time a trial is completed, the Nothing reward him with more powers of the Chrome in pickaxes.
But under that is something new, a growing hunger.
And after they were all completed, Bites became a new warrior to the Nothing. And the Nothing tells Bites that his journey was just the beginning, and must stay vigilant at any time at will. And by December of 2022, the Nothing take more action as it ordered the Herald to finally destroy Reality Zero with a mass calculated move that it created. And with the usage of itself, the Chrome, the Herald went in and started chroming everything. The loopers tried to fight back through the reality tree, but it also failed since the Herald exploded and then came back to life as a giant chrome woman, and she chromed the entire reality tree along the loopers with it, and Reality Zero explodes, and the Nothing thought it won. Until this happens.
I've done everything I can. This is your fight now.
Yeah, the paradigm committed zero fusion through her life. And as a result, Reality Zero reforms again, this time as like a flat Earth-like structure. And the 0 point, with using all of its power, has fully completely petrified itself due to losing all of its power. However, I can credit that the Nothing actually did win the fight by destroying Reality Zero through the Chrome, and indirectly the cubes through Apollo, but I would say that he lost since he didn't even do a good job bringing back itself to consume, as the 0 point and the paradigm had to do their huge sacrifice on recreating Reality Zero and save all reality. And despite all this, as well, by the end of Chapter 4, Asteria did not last long anyway, as it imploded in a way where the 0 point shattered into several shards, spreading across several different realities. And because of this logic, guys, I can indicate that the last reality took huge responsibility for the destruction of the Asteria Island. Even though it was all off-screen, it was all calculated. And because the Nothing failed to do everything to bring back itself as the only being left, and the only reality itself left since it's nicknamed the last reality, the Nothing had bigger plans. Eternal suffering through all other realities. So, what did the Nothing do? Well, its energy and its powers starts creeping across the Asteria Island, bringing more villains. And as a result of this, Asteria imploded and spread all the other 0 point shards to different realities. And as a result, it turns out that the last reality ended up adopting its core. Possibly through Dark Voyager, since Dark Voyager is also connected to his master, which is also connected to the Nothing, who they order him to grab the core for their special plan, which is Phase 2. But how are they going to calculate Phase 2? Well, this is how I'm going to be explaining this right now. Even though all these other events through the Dark Presence death was all Phase 1, it turned out the Dark Presence is actually like a last reality member. And here's how I can prove it, guys. If you take a look at the Dark Presence, you can see in the background, it's like the storm. And if you take a look at the Dark Presence itself, it's purple and pink in many ways. And if you take a look at its patterns, it's all cube-shaped. But why am I saying this? That's because the Demon Warriors itself might be affiliated with the last reality as a separate division. And Reality 783 is actually under the rule of the Nothing to harbor the Reality 783 shard to give the Dark Presence power as like some type of barrier for Hope, Jones, Daigo, Night Rose, and all the other people of this reality, especially for those from different realities, including Homer, to go attack the Dark Presence, and then they control the 0 point shard from there, since after the Dark Presence died, the 0 point shard was manipulated in a way to bring all of them to Reality 266, which is the reality we are currently in right now. And this was calculated by the Nothing so perfectly, along with Dark Voyager's master, that this was all planned out to be this way. And why? To take full essential control of the 0 point, since in order to win the entire war fully, they would have to rebuild the entire 0 point, along with all the other shards, including the core, bring the vault from probably the OG reality, since Dark Voyager's Dark Harvester has been scanning the Loot Lake where the vault is, and place the 0 point from there, and the last reality's Ring of Terror begins here, and this is where Phase 2 might be coming to an end, and the final phase would be Absolute Rule. And I could say this from here. Phase 1 is just the learning phase, where they implement their plans on how they're going to like bring back Nothing. And since that failed, Phase 2 begins, rebuilding the 0 point. They ordered the destruction of the 0 point in Chapter 4 or Chapter 5, spread the shards from out, and then Dark Voyager in Chapter 6 and Chapter 7 decided to watch over, and then as of Chapter 7, was ordered by his master through the Nothing to collect all the 0 point shards, including the core, and then layer on the vault to rebuild the 0 point, place it into the vault. And then after Chapter 7 is over, the Dark Voyager rules over the entire realities and voyages them all with cubes. And as a result, this is where the reign of terror of the last reality comes to a beginning. To calculate this through, guys, the Nothing has been doing this for an extremely long time. 106 billion years to be exact, which is 1.06 times 10 to the 11th years of experimental time. And with the final training one only lasting 8 years, 9 months, 3 days, 9 hours, and 30 minutes in the base reality, which is probably Reality 0, which lasted from pre-season from when Fortnite began all the way to Chapter 6, Mini Season 2, when the Dark Presence died by Revan the Cube. And what about the other 106 billion years, guys? Well, the rest is from when the 0 Point was born to the Dark Presence death also. Since all the realities that were created by the 0 Point have their separate timelines respectively. And also, if you take a look at Classify Canyon, also known as the New Sanctuary now, you could see in the panels that indicate the Nothing is watching. And because of this, Hope, who usually had visions back in Chapter 5 and Chapter 6, saw that her visions are getting clouded. And she thinks that it's caused by the 0 Point shard. But who is controlling the 0 Point shard? The Nothing. And she also claims that a greater darkness is also surrounding her dreams, also indicating the Nothing. And also in those quest lines, Jones also informed that while ago faced an overwhelming evil force he didn't fight, and to save everything, he ran. Which probably indicates the time where he went back in time to 2018, which is Fortnite Season 5, to make his plans of having the loopers to escape through the doomed reality 0 to new realities by triggering a massive Big Bang. And this was all a bad idea and a trap at the same time, initiated by the Nothing. And also, Jones also mentions that if he is right, the Dark Voyager might be the herald of something else, something dangerous, which in terms, his master, which is connected to the Nothing. So, in theory, guys, if Dark Voyager's master is the herald of the Nothing, then Dark Voyager might be a double herald of the Nothing. Despite that in theory, it is basically just absolute nothingness as a whole, I bet that this being that is just absolute nothingness can actually assure massive destruction across all realities by just manipulation and stuff. And the Nothing is one of them. It just means that we are still trying to look forward the meaning of absolute nothingness, guys. Despite that nothingness usually means just absence of everything, nothing, no importance, no quantity. There are still a lot more questions about emptiness and non-existence, or true nothingness is even possible, unless the Nothing wanted to truly destroy all realities, but at the exact same time, this sentient group of absolute nothingness wants to keep the 0 Point not from being destroyed, but to corrupt it in some sort of way where they take absolute full control of the 0 Point and absolute full control of the whole omniverse using its own dark energy. Since the cubes, no matter gold, no matter blue, no matter red, and no matter purple, are all dark energy cubes, all directly connected to the Nothing. So here's the biggest question of them all. What is the Nothing's plan for Chapter 7? Well, the same as what Dark Voyager comes to mind. Full control. That's right, full control. They wanted to control the 0 Point, they wanted to control the vault, and they wanted to implement eternal suffering to all beings across all realities, with a massive iron fist. Despite the Nothing is not iron, it's just nothing. It's the joke that I'm implementing, guys. And is there a way to fight back the Nothing? Well, in theory, I don't think so, guys. Because there's no way to kill the Nothing, since it's impenetrable. But what we could do is that we can actually cause the Nothing to be contained. And how are we going to contain the Nothing? Well, just fill the whole gap with everything. And let me know in the comments below what you think the Nothing is, and tell me about your perspective about absolute nothingness and how, in theory, we're going to counter the Nothing. Because we are still trying to figure out the true definition of absolute nothingness, since it's very complex. It could be like just absolute nothingness, empty, no quality, no quantity, no meaning, no importance, no possibility, or in scientific use, just empty space or a massive vacuum. It's so complicated. And man, if the Imagined Order were to be still around, then I could assure you that it would have done more better to counter the last reality than the 7. And right now the 7 are taking their words as it is.